Hello, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou. Today I want to share with you some Christian book reviews that I have been recording over the last couple of months. These are Christian fiction books, non-fiction, and a few other recent reads. It's the 7th of September and I've finished reading The Last Battle. I read through it quite quickly. It was good to finish off the whole series of the Chronicles of Narnia. This one is following King Tyrion, the last king of Narnia, as he is fighting off the Calamines and fighting the last battle. And basically there's an ape there and a donkey, and the ape dresses up the donkey as a false Aslan and then tries to take over the country. I'm going to have another look through this one again and see if I can spot any similarities to the Bible in it and do a vlog on that one. But I've finished it now and I think I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10, 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's the 26th of September and this week I finished reading Chasing the White Lion by James R. Hannibal. This is the second book in Talia Inga, I think it's just 2 books, duology, and it continues to follow Talia, who is a CIA officer who has joined forces with some ex-criminals in order to con some current criminals. In this second book, they are trying to infiltrate the Jungle, which is the first ever crowdsourced crime syndicate, in order to rescue a group of kidnapped refugee children. I really enjoyed this second book. I think I liked it better than the first one, although when I look back at my ratings, I've given it the same rating. It is high action, twists and turns a bit, and it is, I guess, mystery and suspense I put it under. It's kind of like, it's like a heist, it's like a spy novel, and there is a lot of chasing, explosions, conning people, tricking people, trying to work out who you can trust. It's definitely not based in any kind of reality that I would ever live in, and so it felt like a real escapist, fun kind of book, even though the kind of overall theme of kidnapped children is quite dark. But all the mystery and suspense and the action made it seem quite upbeat and fun. I liked seeing more of the characters' progression in their character, as well as their faith. There's a little bit of romance, but not very much. It's much more balanced towards the action and mystery side. So I gave this one 9 out of 10. I'm interested to see how James Hannibal does his fantasy series, which is coming out next month, Wolf Soldier. I think that's a middle grade one, I'm not sure. So I'm interested to see how he kind of switches over to the different genre and aim at a different age group. It's the 27th of September and this week I also finished We Are the Winter People by Jenny Rowbory. This is a collection of her poetry which she's selling in order to raise money to be able to go across to America to have an operation done. One of the health conditions she has is a severe form of ME/CFS, which is something that I have in a medium form, and she is completely bedridden, so I really wanted to support her. I am not a particular judge of poetry, so I can't really say, whether the meter or the rhythm or how the technical side of the poems were, but I really got her voice through the whole of the poems. It really gave me a glimpse into her life and her world and her emotions. I found it quite emotional at times. I did cry at times reading it because it struck a nerve sometimes with how I feel, and just trying to imagine how that is for her, which is even more extreme. But also there's a lot of imaginary poems as well, where she lets her imagination run free and just imagining different things. So there's some really raw poems in there. There's some real struggles with faith that she's had, with why he hasn't healed her, and I can really identify to all of those, as well as the grief that you feel when you are diagnosed with a chronic illness. And in her case, just everything has been lost, so there's a lot of grief. So whilst I don't know how it measures against other poems technically, I definitely identified with it and felt the voice of her coming through. So I would recommend that to anyone to read, but also to support her. That would be great. I don't know what to rate it, but I will rate it 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, because I just know how hard it has been for her to write poetry whilst completely stuck in bed and unable to move her body hardly. Hey, it's the 3rd of October, and this week another book I finished was You Are Never Alone by Max Lucado. I think this might be the second book I've read by him, and I really enjoyed the style. He tends to give like an illustration of what the chapter's about, and then he goes into the Bible story and unpicks what may be some people's motivations and characters, and then draws a point at the end of it. So I found it really easy to follow. I read it over my holiday, and it was really great to read one chapter a day. I think the title really is a little bit misleading. It's really a book about the different miraculous signs that take place in John's Gospel. He goes through each one and draws a point from each one. So everyone's like a mini sermon. And I found it encouraging, really easy to read. I enjoyed it, and I would probably read it through again at some point. The first 60% of the book is his writings, and then the last, I'd say 40%, is all study questions. So you could read it as like a book club and meet up every week and study each chapter. Or you could do the study questions yourself as a Bible study. I didn't do that. I just flicked through to see what they were like. There's about 10 or 11 questions for each chapter, so it's quite a bit of time that you could spend on studying it, but I just wanted to read it through as a book, and I would give this one 4.5 out of 5 or 9 out of 10. It was enjoyable, and if it sounds interesting, it would be worth reading. I'm going to pick up another one of his. I ordered one for Christmas, so I'm going to pick up another one of his in December. It's the 23rd of October, and I'm getting near the end of the month, which means I end up finishing a lot of books at the same time. So this week I finished The Holo by Agatha Christie, and this is a reread for me. And I kind of enjoyed the mystery part of it again. A little bit more psychological maybe than some of the other ones. A little bit, give me the creeps a little bit more, just going into people's mindsets. But I give this one 8 out of 10. And then I just finished today listening to No Greater Love by A.W. Tozer, which I was listening on the Audible. I have an Audible subscription, and they have an Audible Plus catalogue, which you can listen to things for free if you have a subscription. So that was on there, so I picked that one up, and I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I wondered if it might be a bit old-fashioned and a bit stodgy, but actually I really enjoyed the style of it. It's a collection of some different sermons that he's done on John's Gospel. So it's kind of fairly short chapters, and each one is a separate sermon on a different verse. I found it inspiring and uplifting, and also really challenging in places. He talks quite straight and direct, and I quite enjoyed the way that he writes or speaks. It's quite meaty, but it's fairly easy to read, to take on board. So I gave it a 5 on Goodreads, 10 out of 10. It's the 27th of October and I finished a couple of books this week. First of all, I finished To Save a King by Rachel Hauck, which is the second book in the True Blue Royal series, and this one is following Prince John, who is supposed to be heir to the throne in a kind of made up kingdom. It's contemporary romance, so it's like contemporary romance with a supernatural twist to it, and it follows Prince John, who is meant to be taking his place as the next in waiting to the throne, but he needs to marry in order to make that legally binding, and he is now a widower and he hasn't managed to take his oath yet, so he is being kind of cajoled along to get married again. And also follows Gemma, who is American, who is a foster mum, and she has rescue animals, and she has some secrets from her past which she thinks will disqualify her. So it follows those two. I really enjoyed the story most of the way through. I enjoyed the characters. I liked the romance, and I also liked the fairy tale kind of aspect to it, which is kind of the supernatural aspect, which has a kind of spiritual side to it, and it has a spiritual meaning. It's a Christian book. The only thing I didn't like, I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed, but overall I think it was lovely. Was a lovely story, and I gave it 4 on Goodreads and 8.5 out of 10 on my blog. And then I finally finished reading Finding the Peacemakers by Dan Morrice, and this is a non-fiction, kind of narrative non-fiction book describing his journeys around the world, really, and the people that he's met along the way, the Christians that he's met, some others as well, those people who have been striking to find God's peace in difficult circumstances. So it kind of tells you the stories that you won't have seen on the news. You maybe have seen the news headlines, but you won't have seen the stories behind it. It starts off with the Chilean miners who were trapped underground, and that talks about their faith and how it helped them. And then goes on to some other stories. And then the second half of the book is really he walked from Egypt to Nazareth to follow the journey of Jesus as a boy returning home to Nazareth, and it talks about different people he met on the way, and also some how it's kind of challenged his faith, and things that he learned about his faith through there. So that was a book. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the style. I liked his kind of humour, slightly ironic humour. I hope that he writes some more books and does some more journeys, because it's really great to hear stories of Christians in our own day who are seeing answers to prayer, seeing God move in miraculous ways, and staying true to their faith in difficult circumstances. And I gave this one 9 out of 10. So those are all of the books that I've read recently. Have you read any of them? Do you think the same as me? Do you think differently? Let me know down in the comments. And if you've got a book that you've read recently that you really want to recommend, also leave that down for everyone to read down below. I hope you have a really great reading week, and until next time, God bless. Bye.